Welcome back to New Day Cleveland. Okay, you guys ready to go to the movies?
Yes, absolutely.
I am.
Absolutely.
This is a good one.
I want to tell everybody up front, Dallas Buyers Club, I saw this at the Toronto Film Festival. It's a terrific movie, and this movie is open on a platform schedule. That means it's open in LA, New York, Chicago already for a couple weeks just to give the audience a taste of it so it gathers some momentum, you know? This movie is grossing as much money as Thor, which is the #1 movie in the few numbers of theaters it's in. So it's in 9 theaters around the country, but they're selling out those theaters. So that's how good this movie is. And word of mouth is great. It opens in Cleveland this Friday, so I thought I'd give you a look at it right now so you can see what it's about.
Mr. Woodruff, you've tested positive for HIV. Have you ever used intravenous drugs? We estimate you have 30 days left.
Newsflash for y'all. There ain't nothing out there can kill Ron Woodruff in 30 days. Them drugs, they just released for testing, and I know this hospital's one of the size and need it.
It doesn't work that way, Mr. Woodruff.
They got good meds out of Mexico that's better than what you can get here in the States.
This is protein, totally non-toxic.
And you can't buy this in the USA?
Not approved.
You could be making a fortune off of this.
I've been looking for you, Lone Star.
Listen, Tinkerbell, unless you got more cash or new clients, I'm busy.
You don't deserve our money.
Cut you in 5%.
25, take it or leave it.
Welcome to the Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, welcome indeed. That lady he was talking to is not a lady. That's Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars. And he plays a transvestite in the film. And this takes us back to the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, a time when nobody totally understood what was going on. And Matthew McConaughey plays a guy who was a rodeo rider. And he was a guy who had... you know, he was a carouser, he did drugs, he drank all the time. He was just a party kind of guy, and he finds out that, all of a sudden he is HIV positive. That's when they hardly even knew what that was, and there was no cure for it, and nobody knew what to do. Terrific movie, Dallas Buyers Club, and he goes behind the scenes and underground to find drugs to help keep him alive. He wants to live more than the 30 days they talked about. So when I had a chance to talk to him, we talked about the obvious thing. I mean, look at this guy. We talked about that physical and emotional investment of playing this character.
Yeah, I think it definitely come out stronger. I mean, hopefully each experience in the career, each film is going to come out of it stronger or wiser, or knowing more what really turns me on, knowing more about how I can be more truthful on the day of my job, learning what I did when maybe I wasn't at my best.
You know, this guy, I interviewed him once when he played the coach of Marshall, We Are Marshall.
Okay.
And when we did the interview, we did it in a hotel room, and he pretended he was the coach while we're doing the interview.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty weird and out there. So, I mean, this guy goes to great lengths to get things done.
To lose that much weight for a film has got to be...
Wow. I mean, just...
You have to be miserable.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think he's going to get nominated for an Academy Award. And I think Jared Leto is also... He plays the transvestite in this. You know him from 30 Seconds to Mars. He's a rocker. He's an artist. He
was an actor in My So-Called Life when he did that when he was growing up in his younger years.
He's done it all. So he's playing this very unusual character. So I asked him, I said, well, how are the fans of the band going to react to this? Is this going to influence your music in any way, playing this character and experiencing this person?
Well, I think everything influences everything else, and I think that, you know, as an artist, I learn from everything I do, whether it's taking a photograph, directing, and making a documentary, acting in a film, getting on stage, making an album. I learn even from an interview.
Yeah.
I learn from it all. And I don't mean that to be dismissive, but I mean some people look at that, oh, that's work and that's part of something else. No, you know what? Sometimes you sit in an interview and you learn something about the part or yourself or the process, and you're like, yeah, I did that, and that actually kind of worked and helped me get to where I need to go. That's interesting that I just realized that. So I think it's all related.
Yeah. Well, there's a delicate thing about this character's personality that really, really made it work.
I appreciate that.
Really special.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, like, we all interview people for a job. You do it on the radio, we do it here. And, you know, sometimes you talk to people and they've got an idea about what they're going to say before they say it. You know, they have, like, their philosophy, they're just regurgitating. You know?
Right.
This guy, you could tell he's thinking it through to maybe something new while he's answering. And it's really sort of refreshing, you know?
He seems extremely intelligent, knows what he's doing, very artistic.
That's just an incredible role, though, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah. And what's really funny about this, there's a relationship going on between Matthew McConaughey. He hates what this guy is and what this guy represents. And at the same time, he's on this journey that sort of puts him on a parallel universe. Yeah. And these guys, it ends up, they become an odd kind of friend, you know, and it's really an emotional story and really a terrific
Can we focus
movie.
more on Jennifer Garner?
I would like to, because she plays a doctor, and I know how much you like to play doctor.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we were talking a little bit about it at the beginning of this AIDS crisis. Rock Hudson was one of the faces of this.
Yeah.
You know, nobody realized that he could in fact, you know, contract AIDS. So we talked a little bit about that.
I vividly remember this time. I remember as I was doing the research, you know, the research that I did, if you read about AIDS and HIV now, you're reading stuff that is totally different than what I read about in the 80s.
Yeah.
I found these old magazines and medical journals, and I remembered that one-time magazine that was on my parents' coffee table. I remembered, and all the questions in it and how much has been answered since then. And we really, it was almost barbaric, the kind of the homophobia that sprang up around it, or that it brought light to. I don't know.
Yeah, it started there, and then it went to the quilt. I mean, there are so many people losing their lives. And so anyhow, I live in Beechwood, right next to Shaker Heights.
Course.
And I hear about sightings of you at the ice cream store and all around Cleveland.
We were there. We loved Cleveland. My family was embraced by Cleveland, and we loved it. And I went to school at Denison.
Oh, yeah.
So I was so happy to be back in Ohio. It felt like home. It was close to West Virginia. My college roommate lives in Cleveland. I was so happy to be there.
Are you happy now?
Yes, I'm happy now.
Okay.
Next time she's in Cleveland, maybe she'll come and see me.
Okay. Now to the obvious thing. Okay, you saw what Matthew McConaughey looked like, right?
Right.
He probably didn't eat for how long to look like that. I don't know. I'll tell you about that later. But this is what he had to eat when he had his first chance to go out there and finally put some weight back on.
Okay.
You're done with all this dieting and getting. So what do you do? How do you go back and celebrate yourself back to this?
Well, I tell you, the first thing I did was I made the ultimate cheeseburger, and I took about 40 minutes to doozy it up the right way. But what that does is your body remembers that it used to live at 182 pounds, and it wants to sprint back.
Ooh.
And you have to pull the reins back and go, no, we can't sprint back. We got to take our time.
Like a hot air balloon that gets up too fast.
We want the marathon back, not the sprint. And
how did you dress that burger up?
how?
Yeah, what do you put on it?
Oh, man, well, first of all, I made sure we had the Hellmann's mayonnaise and not the old Miracle Whip. Second of all, they brought out some other ketchup besides Heinz, and I said, no. And then I had to get extra jalapenos, and I had to get extra red onions, and then I had to get the right 3 types of cheese and put them in the right spot with the bacon on the right bun and get it all just right. And then I put it all together and let it sit there for a minute and just soak itself up. And by this time, the person I was eating with was already finishing their dessert, and I hadn't taken a bite yet. And I cut it in half, laid out a pile of ketchup that big, and started, and I chewed probably 25 chews every bite, and it was great.
There you go. It's so good to see you.
Good to be here, man.
That guy was working that burger.
Yeah, my
he worked that burger.
gosh.
He told me he lost a lot of weight exercising and not eating. He says, but I got good news for you. He says, after the 3rd week, you don't have to exercise anymore. You just have to stop eating.
Okay.
So that's the Matthew McConaughey diet. How about
right.
that?
Pretty